It's Tuesday, June 3rd. Arkansas is going to play Tennessee at the Fayetteville Super Regional. It's going to begin Saturday. We'll talk about it on today's podcast, but first a word from Kendall King.
At Kendall King, we're proud of over 4 decades of design. We're continuing the legacy of great creative design by combining our brands of Kendall King, Soapbox, and Shopcart. Together, these brands represent a new focus in marketing design, with individual attention to specific areas. Through our design expertise supported by a team of talented professionals, we showcase our best. We are Kendall King, we are Soapbox, we are Shopcart, we are design.
It felt like it was always going to be Arkansas, Tennessee in the Super Regional when you saw the matchups and the brackets set on Memorial Day. It looked like the regionals were set up to where those were going to be the favorites, obviously, to get through. Tennessee, I thought they would have some trouble with Wake Forest, and they did, but they win 11-5 last night in the decisive game of the Knoxville Regional, and they will be coming to Fayetteville. It's going to be a Saturday start to the Super Regional. That was announced this morning. Arkansas and Tennessee, the first game is going to be played Saturday at 4 o'clock. That's going to be on ESPN. The second game will be Sunday at 2 o'clock. That will also be on ESPN. And then they would play a third game, if necessary, on Monday. No time scheduled as of right now for that if necessary game. So Arkansas, Tennessee, third time Arkansas has played an SEC team in a super regional here at Baum-Walker Stadium. South Carolina came in here in 2018. Ole Miss came in 2019. Kind of interesting. In all three of these instances, Ethan, the team that came here for the Super Regional also came here in the regular season. In 18, South Carolina came here. Arkansas won 2 of 3. They won 2 of 3 at the Super. In 19, Ole Miss came in here. They won 2 of 3, and Arkansas won 2 of 3 during the Super. And then, obviously, you got Tennessee coming in. One thing that's different between those years, Arkansas also played Ole Miss 2 times at the SEC tournament in 19, and they played South Carolina once at the SEC tournament in 17. They didn't play Tennessee there this year. But, you know, we saw Tennessee in here 3 weeks ago. I thought they were the best lineup that I've seen in person all season. They're the national champions. Somebody's going to have to knock them off, obviously, for them not to repeat. And if you're Arkansas, you're wanting to win the championship, what better way to do it than to prove yourself against the team that, despite their struggles this year, a lot of people still think is the most talented team in the country.
Yeah, it's interesting whenever you look at just how everything shake out this weekend that Arkansas's path to get where they want to go is like there's not many SEC teams left in the field, but it would be beating one of them, and then if LSU wins its regional over West Virginia, meeting another SEC team in Omaha. It's just it's like now's their time to show that you think that you were the top dog in the SEC this year. As far as I know, regular season standings and whatnot, Arkansas was second or third
in the SEC.
Yeah,
they were number 2.
Number 2, yeah. And so it's like regular season, you can throw that out the window now. Now there's only a select few left, and it's your chance to show that you were kind of the most ready team for the postseason out of everybody. I think we've said it all year long how complete we think that Arkansas is for a postseason run, and now it's just kind of that time to show it. Looking at the matchups, though, this weekend, because I was watching LSU, Little Rock, and at that point you have an idea of all the super matchups, but that final one between West Virginia and LSU, and they showed up the graphic of like all the supers that were shaking out, and I was like, there's no doubt Arkansas Tennessee is like, I feel like the juiciest of all the matchups.
I think so.
I was like, that's why I wasn't shocked when I saw that ESPN's covering the first 2 games of that one, and it's starting on a Saturday. I just think that it the way that it shook out, it's by far, I think, kind of the most appealing matchup. I think Florida State, Oregon State, obviously, that's intriguing too. But it's just these are 2 big brands. There's the history with Vitello Van Horn. You have the defending national champs. You have the coach who's still going for his first. It's a really good matchup.
Kyle Peterson was on the call of the Tennessee-Wake Forest game last night, and as Liam Doyle was coming back out trying to close out the game for the Vols, he said something about, here's Liam Doyle trying to send Tennessee to, quote, what will not be a boring super at Baum-Walker Stadium. in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I think anybody who's around college baseball, they've wanted to see this matchup in the postseason. And it's weird. It's like Omaha is not big enough for these two teams to make it there because the years that Arkansas has gone, Tennessee hasn't gone, and the years that Tennessee has gone, Arkansas hasn't been there. And of course, it'll be that way again this year. But it is to me, it's a championship level matchup in a super regional. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that Tennessee, struggled at the end of the regular season to win series. But do you think about it? They were number one for, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, something like that during the regular season. Arkansas was number one for a time during the regular season. I mean, there have only been like 5 or 6 teams that have been number one this year. And you're not going to see this level of matchup anywhere else in the super regional.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny how everything turned out this weekend where, you had upsets galore, and you're probably, all along thinking, like, if you're Arkansas, just make it through your regional, you're the higher seed for a reason, who cares who's next, not feeling like I don't know, it just feels like it was like a fine matchup. Like, it's just kind of how it should shake out. But now you look at who all's left, and you're like, okay, well, Tennessee's one of the top teams that's still in this thing. It's like, because so many teams got upset that it's kind of like, yeah, if you're taking your top 8 teams right now that are still alive and putting them in Omaha just based on seed, Tennessee's there, right? I think that there's 9 national seeds who made it, and the lowest one is UCLA at 15. So if you're taking your top 8 that are still left seed-wise, these are 2 teams that would be in Omaha, just as far as kind of the whole body of work they've had. I think it's just a really good supers matchup between teams that probably both have, they both have championship aspirations, and they have teams that they think can do it.
Well, and they have fan bases who think that if they don't win a championship, it's an unsuccessful season.
Yeah.
I feel like at this point.
I'd say find me other super regionals where that's a thing this week. Do we think that UCLA UTSA feels that way?
I don't believe so.
Or Duke Murray State?
No.
It's like,
Unless it's basketball.
Yeah, I would say I don't think there's a super regional with more collective, passionate fan base this week. Just between these 2 teams.
I think you're right about that. Definitely think so. Tony Vitello, obviously former Razorback assistant coach, Tennessee coach, turned them into one of the great programs in the country at this point. After they beat Wake Forest last night, he was asked about coming to Arkansas, and this is what he had to say.
When you're in the backyard, at least the neighborhood I grew up in, it was still kind of everybody meets out on the street and you play a bunch of games. And whenever I lost, maybe my dad did it to me, I was kind of a little punk. But I always wanted let's run it back. Let's redo it. So at the very least, my first reaction is we want to be playing this time of year, as does anybody that's left. I don't know if any other games are still going on. I haven't followed much of that stuff, but it's a blessing to be playing. And this team has been confident going on the road, but at the very least, they get a chance to redo the thing.
Tennessee's 9-6 on the road this season. Arkansas 35-4 at home. 9-6. That's not a bad road record, and it shows a team that I think is capable. I said this after they won the Thursday night game in Fayetteville. I thought it was a championship effort from them because Arkansas didn't play great that night, but I didn't think they played terribly either. And certainly from an offensive standpoint, they gave Tennessee a couple of punches, and Tennessee punched right back. Saturday's game, or Friday's game, game 2 of that regular season series, I thought that was probably the most entertaining game that I've seen at Baum this year. And Arkansas won at 8-6, and then on Sunday, I thought Arkansas was thoroughly in control and won that one on 8-4 in the finale to take the series. But with Tennessee, those guys play with a chip on their shoulder. They play like everybody's out to get them. And now you give them some motivation that they lost a series here, and they get a chance to maybe redo that. That's I think not that Arkansas's players or coaches or anybody should be scared of Tennessee, but I certainly think you have to respect the fact that when you have a team that talented with a little bit of motivation, it's certainly something worth keeping in mind.
Yeah. It's just weird, like, how recently this was, too. Like, I get it. You said in the past, whenever they've played these SEC teams again, how they played in the regular season. Were any of them the finale?
No,
I'm about
no.
to say,
I
this
think
is such a quick
I,
turnaround.
I remember South Carolina being in early April. I think Ole Miss was early to mid-April in 19.
Because I think I was following this series while at a regional at Bogle. Like,
Yeah,
it was that
probably so.
Yeah, it's such a quick turnaround. Like, it's, I don't know. I don't know if that benefits who this benefits in that situation, if it's kind of the same, but it's just very much like you just did all your prep work on this team and you just saw him, so it's probably just the scouting report probably didn't even have time to get any dust on it. Like, you just pull it right back out.
And I also wonder how, because like Liam Doyle did not pitch well here, but Zach Root didn't pitch well when Tennessee was here either. Gage Wood didn't pitch well when Tennessee was here. I wonder how much they're able to lean on the initial scouting reports that they had that weekend, because Root looked really good in the regional, Wood looked phenomenal in the regional, and Liam Doyle looked really good for Tennessee both the times that he pitched.
Yeah, and it's just crazy how you can play a whole long season like this, and you can win a series against Tennessee in the regular season, and you can, I don't know, be the better team for so much of the year, but it all comes down to this one weekend to see if you get where you want to go. It's like you just throw it out the window once you get to this point. If a team is left standing after a regional weekend, you take them, like, I don't care if it's UTSA or Murray State, like, you take them dead serious because they've made it this far.
That's the frustrating thing about the postseason, is that it doesn't, what you do during the run-up to the postseason, it gets you in a situation to potentially set yourself up, for the best case scenario, like home field advantage. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, if Tennessee comes in here and wins this series this weekend, nobody's going to care that Arkansas beat them in the regular season. And sometimes I hate that the fact that the regular season is so devalued in relation to what happens in the postseason, but that's just how it is.
Yeah, no, for sure, and I hate that part of it too. That it's like you can have a phenomenal year and then get bounced from your own regional, and people just completely count off the entire season.
Like Vanderbilt.
Yeah, Vanderbilt or Ole Miss that just both made it to. They were in the SEC championship, which let's get on that soapbox a little bit about the tournament
And how it affects you in the regional?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've been saying this for years.
Give Missouri the golden pass to just let them, just throw them the softest fastballs of your life, and let Missouri win the SEC tournament to get out of there, and you don't have to play. But no, I'm kidding. But it really is like, you can do so many good things in the regular season, and then you have a bad weekend, and people just. It's like they forget every other thing you did all season. I hate that aspect of it, but it is just, it's the nature of it. I mean, you look on the outfield wall of schools and,
They don't have your regular season records on there.
They do put if you win your champion, like Texas will forever have that they won the SEC on their outfield wall, but hey, they won't have anything on their super regional years wall.
They have super regionals listed there?
I have no clue.
I don't think they do.
Arkansas does, right?
They don't have super regionals. They have College World Series years. They have years that they made the tournament and years that they won the SEC.
So
Not the SWC, by the way, which is so dumb, the fact that they don't have their Southwest Conference championships listed on the wall at Baum-Walker Stadium. Why we acknowledge that Arkansas got into the NCAA tournament these years and they got into the you got me off, but the World Series in these years, but they don't acknowledge the fact that they're Southwest Conference champion teams. I don't understand that one. But anyway, tournament years, College World Series
You can
years.
do the math with the walls usually and figure out what years they went to regional and they won a super and how they did in the super based on the World Series wall.
Okay, so this totally out of left field. What do you think about hanging Sweet 16 banners at Bud Walton Arena and Elite 8 banners?
I would be more...
Because they're hanging.
I think it's better to have one banner that you put all your Sweet 16 years on and maybe one banner with all your Elite 8 years on.
Well, that's how they have it there. That's how they have it there.
Okay, I think that's fine.
Do you?
Yeah, because, I mean, it's like if you make it that far, I think it's fine.
I think it's kind of weird.
Because if we're saying no Elite 8, I can get the Sweet 16. If we're saying Elite 8, then don't put College World Series years on your outfield wall.
But now hold on. the College World Series is the pinnacle event for college baseball, no different than the Final Four is.
Yeah, but it's the same number of teams.
Nobody gets an Elite Eight ring in college basketball.
Yeah,
I don't think.
but it's the same number of teams. Yeah, 8 the Elite Eight, 8 the World Series. That's and it's actually.
I think the Sweet 16 and Elite Eight banners at Bud Walton are very strange, and it was Musselman who brought them here.
Yeah,
Like they didn't have any of that until Musselman took 2 teams to the Elite Eight, and it's like, let's acknowledge what those 2 teams did, but they didn't get to the Final Four.
Yeah, I think I'm not a hater of that, just because I don't think.
I just think it's odd.
I think if you look at the landscape of the rest of who you're playing in the SEC and stuff, and you have a lot more than everybody else, they notice.
We need to incomplete this discussion and see what other teams have Elite Eight and Sweet 16 banners. Because I will tell you, the arenas that I have been in, which isn't a ton, but I've been in some around college basketball. I don't see that elsewhere. I haven't seen that elsewhere. Doesn't mean that they're not hanging there, and maybe it's a new thing that in the years since I've been, I highly doubt they have this at Rupp Arena, but say in the years since I've been at Rupp Arena, maybe they do this. I don't know, but I just have always thought that was weird, and I don't know how we've gone down this rabbit hole, but here we are.
Well, since we're down it, speaking of banners, doing these baseball regionals at home, I mean, you're in the track center, and it's just holy cow. Every time I look up and see those banners, I'm like, so we have the small banner over here that represents a national championship because we needed to have room for all the other small banners that say that they won a national championship. I mean, it's just like overwhelming when you actually sit there and think about it, because I think you can walk in and just take it for granted. But if you sit there and just think about every little piece of hardware that's in that trophy case in there and every banner that's hanging up, it really like overwhelms you.
There is a wall that I don't know how many feet this wall is, but it's literally a wall of national championship trophies that is several feet long.
Yeah, and then the back wall is a lot of more SEC ones.
It's not all their SEC. It may be just like one that represents, hey, we've got like 150 of these.
Yeah. There's a lot of trophies and a lot of banners.
I've gone into the track offices before, and I have seen SEC trophies sitting on the floor of offices because there are so many. I don't think they know what to do with them. It's kind of like whenever they used to win the pin relays all the time, and you get these giant pin relay wheels, and then you go over here to Jose's on Dixon Street, and they'd have pin relay wheels just hanging in the or you go to Rush Running, and they've got a pin relay wheel. You just kind of take your trophies to the different businesses around town that have helped you out. It's like, here, you got to display this.
Like you wonder if, because the main track facility, the indoor one, has so many trophies in there, if like whenever they built this new track performance center, I'm like, I hope y'all just like set out a little portion of there to like maybe your secondary trophies that you like but you don't have room for, just a storage place. It's crazy how many trophies they have.
If you were to add up all the conference and national trophies, just conference and national trophies that program had, you would probably be over 150.
Yeah,
and
insane.
where do you store all this stuff?
Yeah.
I'd love to know who has the job of keeping inventory of where all the trophies are.
Yeah, that's
a good summertime project.
But all of this to say, with banners and trophies and all this stuff, it's really hard to make it all the way and win one of these things.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's like, I don't know, we're talking about like all these 16 teams that are left in the baseball tournament that all have, at this point, if you make it this far, you have your eyes set on winning it. But it's so hard to actually get there. Like, even once you get down to this pool. So it's just, I think that at this stage, though, it's like Arkansas can look at the field and say, why not us type of deal.
So the way this works is that 4 supers are going to start on Friday, 4 are going to start on Saturday. I don't know the rhyme or reason that they use to determine which start when, but I do know that if you are on one side of the bracket in Omaha, you're going to start on the same day of all the other teams that are on that side, or vice versa. So on Friday, these are the supers that start: Miami and Louisville. That's going to be at Louisville. Florida State at Oregon State. Arizona at North Carolina. And Coastal Carolina at Auburn. And then Saturday, these are the teams on Arkansas' side of the bracket. You've got Texas San Antonio going to UCLA. Murray State going to Duke. What a win they had last night over Ole Miss, Murray State. West Virginia going to LSU. LSU was able to survive Little Rock, I think would be the way to put it. Little Rock gave them an incredible battle. The 10-6 score is not really reflective of how competitive that game was last night at the box, and then obviously Tennessee and Arkansas. I know there's a lot of people who are upset that Tennessee gets an extra day of rest. I don't think that it was some big conspiracy to give Tennessee an extra day of rest. I just think it was, for whatever reason, that side of the bracket, they get a Saturday start time. And, the way I look at it is Arkansas gets an extra day of rest too. And this is now going to allow them to give Zach Root a game 1 start on a full week of rest. It's going to allow them to give Gage Wood a game 2 start on a full week of rest. And, can they go on 6 days? Sure. I know they can. I've seen them do it. But I think that if you were to ask people, if they were perfectly honest with you, I think they would say they would prefer that extra day of rest as opposed to starting on 6 days.
Yeah, and I think that it's just like I get the people conspiracy of like, oh, they're just trying to make it a longer turnaround for Tennessee, but I'd also think that it probably has something to do with what TV matchups they want where too.
Be.
Because, you look on that day, none of the games on Friday are on ESPN. They're on ESPN2. And on Saturday, they have a doubleheader back-to-back of West Virginia, LSU, Tennessee, Arkansas. So I'm assuming that was like the prime spot for TV.
Could be.
And those are probably those two super regionals. You look at them, and it's probably the two ones that ESPN would be like, yeah, we want that.
Well, and you also think if LSU and Arkansas were to go to a game 3, then you have a primetime spot on Monday to showcase two of the premier stadiums in the country. It does help Tennessee from this standpoint. Liam Doyle threw last night, like we mentioned earlier. I think he threw 31 pitches, threw 104 earlier in the week. And I'm going to be very interested to see, does Tennessee start him game 1? They didn't start him game 1 when they came here earlier this year to keep him on a normal rest pattern. So do they start him game 1? Or do they pitch off against Zach Root? And then maybe do you have Gage Wood going against Liam Doyle? That wasn't the case when they played here earlier because Gage Wood was held. I think it was to give him a little bit of extra rest. So we'll see.
Well,
we don't know yet, but one more thing. Tennessee's going to be without their catcher for game 1. Cannon Peebles got
tossed.
ejected last night for apparently saying the magic word to the opposing catcher. And so the NCAA rules say that when you get ejected, it's an automatic 1-game suspension. So that's
definitely
if they don't pitch Doyle game 1, it feels like I'm saying the exact same thing that I said when they were here in the regular season. But if they don't pitch Doyle in game 1 and they don't have their catcher in game 1, and you're throwing Zach Root in game 1, that feels like a game you really need to win.
Yeah, I'd agree. And it's like, that's the type of game that it makes it, if you don't win, it makes it all the much harder just to because they're going to be at full strength for the rest of the way. But I also think that you look at the weather, it might have had something to do with that because Friday is looking like rain all day. And I get it, things can change, but at least Saturday, Sunday, Monday are looking like maybe scattered storms. But who knows?
I think when people look at the weather, like, oh, it's going to rain, you can't play that day. Well, sometimes it rains for like an hour.
Yeah.
And then you can move on.
You're in trouble on the
3
days.
hours.
You're only on trouble on the days where it's like, okay, it looks like it's going to be like all day. Like maybe you'll get a drizzle instead of a thunderstorm. And I think that Friday is looking like a rain all day type of deal. But
I got to get my yard mowed before all this comes through. It's it can't handle another heavy rain and heat.
yeah, I don't know if I can either. I feel like every time that it rains, it does something to which I grew up hearing like then it would wash all the allergies away or something, like wash the pollen away. No, all it does, it kicks it back up for me. Every time that we've gotten this rain, it's like the day after, whenever it heats back up, it's like I am sneezing up a storm right now and eyes are dying. I'm just like, can we please get over allergy season and rain? And I also have a conspiracy, since we're talking about conspiracies today, that we are like our months have like somewhat shifted. And
the seasons have shifted?
We are in old May right now. We are in June, but it is what May used to be.
Yeah, I believe this.
May this past year was what April used to be.
I believe that.
I
believe that.
Dead convinced.
And October is what like late August used to be. It's like we go into a drought now in the fall.
Yes. Yes, that's all my conspiracy is.
I believe that.
I have no
Well,
evidence to back it up.
We're having a discussion out here in the newsroom yesterday about all this.
Oh, well, look at me. I wasn't even here.
You bugged our conversation.
I was not here, so.
All right. When we come back, it has not been a good week for the SEC in the postseason. We'll talk about what happened there and more, but first, a word from Kendall King.
At Kindle King, we're proud of over 4 decades of design. We're continuing the legacy of great creative design by combining our brands of Kindle King, Soapbox, and Shopcart. Together, these brands represent a new focus in marketing design with individual attention to specific areas. Through our design expertise supported by a team of talented professionals, we showcase our best. We are Kindle King, we are Soapbox, we are Shopcart, we are design.
Hey, welcome back. I want to tell you about our friends at Bentonville Glass. They're committed, professional, versatile, been serving their community since 1971. If you're looking for a quality leader in Northwest Arkansas or looking for skilled craftsmanship, look no further than Bentonville Glass for all your glass market needs with the highest quality products. You can come by and see them at 507 South Main in Bentonville or online at bentonvilleglass.com. I want to tell you, too, that the new issue of Hogs Illustrated, this is our football preview, is available. I think we've got a picture of it that we're going to pull up and show you here. Talon Green is on the cover. We'll talk with Christina about this a little bit more when she's in studio tomorrow. But you can stay on top of all the Razorback sports with a subscription to the Hogs Illustrated app. We think it's most complete Razorback coverage in one location. Subscription will give you 20-plus issues to Hogs Illustrated, plus complete access to our website at wholehogsports.com. Monthly subscriptions begin at $17. You can join now at hogsillustrated.com/subscribe, or you can call 800-757-6277 for Hogs Illustrated. Again, 800-757-6277 or hogsillustrated.com/subscribe to learn more about our football preview issue. Razorback football, it kind of makes me mad, actually, when I hear it. All these people who say, it's 90 days away. Do you know how many days we are from it now?
We were 100 not long ago, so
Yeah,
I know we're probably at like 90.
And this is a personal problem. It's like, can we enjoy the summer without the countdown, without the constant reminder that we're 87 days or 86 days or whatever the case might be?
You just subtract however many days of fall camp happen before the season starts, and that it's just what people are doing is giving a countdown timer for how much time we have to breathe for a second.
Yeah.
Because once fall camp starts, it's go 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 until this time next year.
When baseball season ends, I plan on just totally unplugging and just being ignorant to my surroundings for a long time.
See, this is my plan with softball because it takes a lot out of you whenever you go from football into basketball into softball. It's just nonstop. And baseball's hosting a regional here, so I'm over here just like, all right, I'm on fumes, guys, but tell me what to do. And I'm like, the moment we're done, I mean, we're gonna be enjoying this summer and the weather because I'm with you. I don't want to count down to football.
I like the work, and it's good to be busy. But I think about 2018. I was driving back from Omaha, and I had the realization somewhere driving across Iowa, SEC football media days starts in 13 days. It's like, oh my gosh,
yeah.
There's just, it's like the amount of downtime in the summer with the way they pushed up, some of the preseason football stuff. And then obviously now Omaha doesn't go that late into June anymore. I think this year the World Series ends on June 24th.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice, but yeah, it's I can live without the football countdown. Yeah. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
And I'm just in general, because I wrote this cover story on Talon Green for this magazine, and it's like I'm tired of all the we know that the story about Talon Green is what he needs to not have
limit turnovers.
I was like, I'm not writing that story again. I said I'm going to I got to talk to Talon Green for this and just about just him as a person and life and what it's been like in Fayetteville, and it was just nice to write a story on just a person, because that's how I am just with football. Just feels very redundant, a lot of the stuff.
And this team is uninteresting. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just this team is uninteresting. There's not a lot of there's not a lot of star power there. We talked last year about ad nauseum about the Petrino angle coming back to Fayetteville. It seems like Sam Pittman goes into what's this third straight year where he's gone into the season where you think he's on the hot seat. So I don't know. It's just I feel like a lot of what we talk about with football is just recycled material. Can they compete against the teams that have the NIL? Can they do this? Can they do that? They got to do something on the field to spice things up a little bit.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just a very stale product right now.
Yeah. It's just football. I feel like every year it's just same song, different verse. Like we're just getting ready for the same exact questions of it's. When was the last time that we were like, oh, Arkansas doesn't have a hard football schedule? Like
When was
everybody
the last
brings up
time you
every
were
year-
excited? Like when was the last time there was a level of excitement about Razorback football going into the season? I would say 2022.
Yeah, I'm about to say the year after Outback Bowl.
And some of that has to do, I think, with the fact that, yes, they had a good season the year before, but they also had an appealing opponent in the first week. And so you were able to kind of look forward, throughout the weeks leading up to the season of, okay, they're going to play Cincinnati, who was a playoff team the year before, and they've got a good coach. And that turned out to be a really good game that they played in Fayetteville. But I think some of this, when you're playing Western Carolina and UAPB, which was still the worst football game I've ever seen, and
I was like, buckle up for this year's one.
Alabama A&M under a new coach this year, like that just doesn't get people excited for the season. I'm a big believer, and this is not just an Arkansas problem because other teams do it too, that the conferences need to step in, and at some point maybe the networks make them step in and say, look, we need to have better inventory week one. Because I feel like college football is kind of kneecapping itself by not having marquee matchups that you're talking about leading up to the season.
Yeah, and it's like the SEC makes you play like a power team, right? Like you have to have one power conference game. It's like, why not make those need to be like week one?
Well, there's
one or two.
There are so many things that go into football scheduling that makes it confusing. Arkansas's got their own set of problems when it comes to scheduling. Like up until this year, Arlington, maybe up until next year, Little Rock. But when the schools get to control who they're going to play in non-conference games, and there's no set of rules about when you can schedule these games, it makes scheduling a real, like there's no one person in charge or no one entity in charge. It's like the schools are kind of in charge, but then the conferences are kind of in charge, and then you throw the whole. You don't know what time the game is going to kick off until 12 days and sometimes 6 days before the season starts. It's a weird deal.
And the best is whenever you have the early November Alabama versus, Charleston Southern.
Well, a lot of teams do that the week before their rivalry games.
Yeah.
This is Urban Meyer started this when he was at Florida. They would schedule a cupcake before they played Florida State. And then everybody started getting their cupcakes scheduled. Even Arkansas has gotten in on the act the last couple of years.
Last year they played
Louisiana
Tech right before Texas, right?
No, they played Louisiana Tech the week before Missouri.
Right before Missouri. They all run together.
That was the last regular season game.
Yeah, it's. There's a lot of things that would make for a better product in college football, and getting rid of those games would be my favorite.
FIU, didn't they play them in November a couple of years ago?
Yeah, right before somebody.
Probably, I think it was before Missouri.
Yeah, so it hasn't really worked, but we'll
see. Yeah, that was part of the 3-week stretch at Fayetteville to end the season. Yeah. With Auburn,
that's another thing that I think makes this year like last year going into football season. You talk about the excitement level. At least you looked at the home schedule and saw the list of teams. This year, the home schedule is just not great. Other than Notre Dame is going to be.
That's the marquee game.
Yeah, but like the SEC one is like
A&M. It's got to be A&M because they haven't been here in so long.
But Auburn, Mississippi State, Mizzou. I guess things always change and teams can be better. It's just like it's not you're going on the road to LSU to Knoxville to wherever else.
And they don't play their first home SEC game till mid-October.
Yeah, So it's better. Get ready for that Notre Dame game because that's like that's the big one in Fayetteville.
All right, I've had my fill of football talk. Let's move back to baseball. Not a good weekend for the SEC in the regionals. Of course, Vanderbilt got eliminated. Texas got eliminated. We'll start there. I think anytime a conference has the 1 and the 2 overall seed, and like I said, they're both from the same conference. It's not Greg Sankey's fault that they lost. I will say this. I think some of this has to do with the selection committee and the rankings that they assigned these teams. In no way did I think Vanderbilt should be the number 1 seed. But what the selection committee went off of was their RPI and their strength of schedule. They leaned heavy on RPI strength of schedule in assigning these seeds this year. Because in my opinion, the 2 best teams, and I'm just talking about the 2 teams that when you watch them and you say when they're really good, who else can be better than these guys, are Arkansas and LSU. And I thought that those 2 teams had probably the best resume. You can put Texas in there, even though I think when you watch Texas and the way that they struggled offensively, it was going to be hard to justify at least giving them a number 1 overall seed. But I thought the top 3 in some order should have been Arkansas, LSU, and Texas, and Vanderbilt should have probably been 4 or 5 or somewhere down the line. Auburn being number 4. Hey, maybe they go and win the national championship this year, and I sound like a moron. But I didn't see anything from Auburn this year that made me think that they were a top 4 seed. The selection committee giving the SEC the top 4 and what was it, like 6 of the top 7, it's a reflection of, I think, the fact that they went really strong on RPI and strength of schedule. They gave 8 regional host spots. But none of that changes the fact that it was a bad weekend for the SEC. Ole Miss lost yesterday. Vanderbilt lost. Texas lost. A number of 2 seeds that you thought might go into to regionals and win, they didn't win. And
that was equally as the hosts that lost. Like I just thought that Florida and Alabama, I was like, oh, give me those 2 seeds, and they just fell flat.
They got 4 teams advancing, and they're not going to get more than 3 teams in Omaha because you have this all SEC matchup this weekend in Fayetteville. It would take, how about this? The last since 2021, Oklahoma was in the Big 12 when they played Ole Miss in the championship, but now they're in the SEC. So since 21, every national championship series in Omaha has been what is now an SEC school versus an SEC school. The only way that can happen this year is if Auburn gets to the championship series and one of these 3 teams, Arkansas, Tennessee, or LSU, coming through the other side of the bracket gets there too. So it's up to Auburn in some ways to keep this streak going.
Yeah, and it's you just look at it, and I'm very interested to see what the end looks like in Omaha as far as like your final, maybe semifinal teams. It's like you could have some real interesting how did they get their stories.
You could have some real Cinderella type teams get to Omaha this year. I feel like
Murray State playing Duke. Do we really want to like count out Murray State very much at all in that? Wasn't Duke Duke's
a good team.
Duke's good, but like
I thought Duke was going to be a regional host up until maybe the last 2 to 3 weeks of the season.
All I know is Murray State. Watching them this weekend, I was like, I'm confused how y'all were a 4.
But yeah, I mean, you look at some of these supers. Louisville and Miami. One of those teams are going to get to Omaha. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody had those 2 teams, especially not with Louisville having to go through the 1. I don't think anybody had those 2 teams thought that they would go to Omaha. You do have a Florida State Oregon State matchup, which I guess you would consider that a chalk matchup. Arizona UNC. I think UNC is really good. I think UNC could win a championship this year. Coastal and Auburn. One of those 2 teams is going to get to Omaha. Auburn. People don't give Auburn enough credit sometimes, and I know I'm what I just said a few minutes ago, but I'm just talking about them as a program. If they got there this year, it'd be the 3rd time that they've been to the World Series since 2019, and it sets up well for them to get there, playing a home regional against a Coastal Carolina team that they played well over the weekend. But I think Auburn should be the favorite.
Yeah, I'm wearing the 2022 World Series shirt, and Auburn's on there.
Yeah, there's 6 SEC logos on there. Texas is on there. OU's on there. Can I tell you a quick story about that? There's a sporting goods store in Omaha called Shields, and I love Shields. They're in a lot of Midwest cities, and every time that I see one, I try to stop in because each one of them's got kind of their own little unique thing, and they have a Ferris wheel in the store, and my kids love riding the Ferris wheel. But at Shields in 22, I went in there, and every Texas cup was turned upside down. And I was sitting there thinking, was that Arkansas fans? Or was it OU fans? Or was it Aggie fans who've done this?
Let's say there's a lot of culprits.
Yeah, there's a lot of...
Yeah, actually, I don't know who you could rule off of here other than probably Stanford.
You don't think Stanford's doing that?
I don't think Stanford is. I mean, we can't even really just rule out Auburn, Ole Miss, and Notre Dame like that.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody really likes Texas, do they?
It doesn't seem like they're too likable.
But I don't think Stanford would do that.
Texas, San Antonio, and UCLA.
Yeah.
I mean, one of those teams can get to Omaha.
I'm all for the Roadrunners and the Racers meeting in Omaha.
I see what you did there.
The Roadrunners and the
Roadrunners and the Racers.
How amazing
that would be a first round matchup.
Yeah, how amazing would that be?
Duke UCLA would be a good matchup if they got together on the hardwood. So I think, and I said this before the tournament started, I think there's going to be some surprise teams to get to Omaha, and I especially feel that now. I mean, how could you say there's not going to be? Because you've got Murray State, Duke, UTSA, UCLA. I know they were a national seed, but I don't know how many people thought they would actually get to Omaha, and then Louisville and Miami. So there are going to be some surprise teams in Omaha. Maybe as many as 3 or 4.
Yeah, and it's crazy because you can kind of see who's going to be the favorite already, just in where it's going to come from, just because of Oregon State, Florida State being matched up, Arkansas, Tennessee being matched up in the little quadrant with LSU. Like, you can see where ultimately the favorites to win this thing will come from what portion of the bracket. But until you get there, it's like just anything can happen.
Okay, so going back to the SEC though, I don't think one bad weekend means that it was a bad season for the SEC. I do think that it legitimizes some of the conversation that we had, that there was a lack of consistency, and it wasn't just in this conference; it was across college baseball this year. And I think that kind of reared its ugly head a little bit in this regional. But it's kind of like the Big Ten's won the last 2 football national championships. Ohio State and Michigan are really good football programs, but you're not going to put the entire Big Ten up against the entire SEC in football and convince me that they're better. You know what I mean? I think the bottom of the SEC, maybe not the bottom 3 or 4, but the bottom half of the SEC is stronger collectively than the bottom half of the Big Ten. And I would say the same thing, with baseball, obviously, that, the SEC is stronger. I know the ACC got more teams into the Super.
The SEC had a strong weekend, but do you really put the whole conference up against the SEC?
I mean, that's just how it works sometimes. It's no different than if Auburn and Florida wouldn't have gotten to the Final Four this last year. I don't know that it delegitimizes any how strong the SEC was in basketball. It's just weird things seem to happen in the postseason, and I think too often people will try to take a 1 or 2 week snapshot and try to apply it to the entire season, and I don't think that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that it's just chaos happens in postseason play all the time. I think that the SEC, honestly, I think this is a look yourself in the mirror type of deal about the tournament. I really do. I know we mentioned it with Vanderbilt and Ole Miss, but I don't get how, since they changed the format this year, I think that was definitely a step in the right direction. But it's just
you're talking about the SEC tournament.
The SEC tournament, how teams look at themselves of what they want to do there. I think we say this every year, but it's tell me that that it didn't have something to do.
But now on the other hand, look at what Little Rock did.
Yeah.
They got hot at their conference tournament, and they kept going right into the regional. It works both ways. Teams can get hot at the conference tournament, and they run all the way to Omaha. LSU did it in 2017. They won the national championship when they won the SEC tournament. But I do think that more often than not, the teams, and especially in Ole Miss's case where they had to play 4 games there, the teams that kind of have to extend themselves in Omaha, or in, the teams that have to extend themselves in Hoover, I think those are the teams that maybe the regional the next week is a little bit more detrimental to them. I'm losing my voice here.
No, you're good. I didn't know if you were getting emotional about this.
I'm not emotional about Mike Bianco. I can promise you.
I thought it was Corbin.
I was talking about Ole Miss.
Oh, well, I thought you were just lumping them together. My bad. I think that they. I don't know. There is 2 ways because, like you said, Little Rock caught fire. They were hot. North Dakota State. I know they didn't make the regional championship here, but you can't tell me that what happened at their conference tournament didn't lead to them playing better.
Murray State.
Yeah,
they won the Missouri Valley.
Yeah, I think maybe for some of these smaller conference teams that does that. It seems it happens just so often though with these high-seeded SEC teams that do well in conference tournament and exit earlier than you would have think.
It does seem like the teams that go deeper into Hoover struggle more often then the teams that go deeper into Hoover win in the
Yeah.
regional round.
So, and I get, like, we can't delegitimize, like, you'll forever have a SEC tournament championship trophy, like, you won that. It's like,
I hate the SEC championship.
that's so
the
hard.
tournament championship. To me, your champion should be the team that was your best team during the regular season.
Yeah.
It ought to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it ought to be.
Yeah. I
Why
kind of
is it
hate
not?
that two teams can
Why
say
is it
they were
not?
champions.
Why is it that North Dakota State can go 20-32 and get into the tournament over a team that had a much better record? Or like take basketball, for example. Think about when Georgia beat Arkansas the tornado weekend at the SEC tournament. That team was like 14-18 or something coming in. How does that team get to be the SEC, or considered to be the SEC champion when you've got Chris Lofton in Tennessee the same year?
Yeah. And I think that this is like where you find the two different types of people. Some people love that can happen, and it's
I hate it.
I'm over here. I think that you've helped me work through what I've come to my conclusion. Let's just abolish conference tournaments. That's my conclusion. Okay.
Too much money to do that.
Yeah. Well, I don't care about money.
Greg Sankey cares about his money. I promise you.
We'll just abolish the conference tournament and do some sort of fundraiser that week instead.
I've said this. I think Hoover would be a good time to have the two teams that, number one, go back to divisions, have a West and an East, or a North and a South, or a Sankey and a Slive, whatever you want to call them, and have two divisions and have the winners meet in Hoover for a best-of-3 series, and that's your SEC champion that year.
Hey, I think we should.
No, it's no different than what they do in football.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I just think we should send all the teams to Hoover, and we're actually doing like the crazy sport Olympics, like, and we're televising it, like we're actually doing slip and slides, and actually no, somebody might get hurt doing that. We're doing water balloon fights, and we're still getting our money somehow, but we're not risking throwing out our arms.
There's going to be a lot of talk this week about the SEC. Is overrated, it's dead, it's whatever. LSU, Arkansas, Tennessee. I think I would be willing to put down a small bet that one of those three teams is the national champion.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know what the betting lines look like this morning, but I would assume that I would think that the SEC is like probably for the top 5 or 6.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
I think
North
Tennessee-
Carolina would be the team outside the SEC that would be.
and maybe
a
a
favorite.
Florida State, Oregon State would be over Tennessee right now.
I think Tennessee might be over those two teams.
It's just I think that people still have faith that the SEC is going to win. It was just a bad, terrible regional weekend though. Like nobody can't put it any other way that it was a bad weekend for the SEC. But hey, you still have 4 teams that probably are not probably. People are going to think are, your favorites to win it all.
Well, they're definitely going to have one in Omaha. They're not going to have more than 3, and we'll see how it works out moving forward. Again, Arkansas, Tennessee, they're going to play Saturday at 4 o'clock on ESPN, Sunday at 2 o'clock on ESPN, and the Monday, if necessary, game. No details yet on that one. We appreciate you being here on our podcast today. We'll be back with another one tomorrow, and we'll have plenty of coverage at our website, wholehogsports.com, throughout the day. Hope to see you there. Have a great day, everybody.